And thank you all for joining us here tonight as we are ready to get going on the victory lap here. I am your host, James Boss. Joined alongside me is Shane Tinney. And Shane, how are we feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good tonight. My guy, just want to congratulate right off the bat. AL MVP Aaron Judge was just crowned a couple hours ago before the show, so hats off to him, and looking forward to seeing him in the Yankees jersey next year.
Yeah, so we can start with a little bit of baseball free agency because he is a free agent right now, and you could argue he's the top guy on the block, I suppose.
I would say.
I would not, but
Who's above him?
Jacob deGrom.
Jacob deGrom?
Yeah. I'm taking the best pitcher in baseball over like the fourth best hitter in baseball.
The DeGrom sweepstakes is also going to be one to watch too. Where do you see him landing? Do you think he re-signs with the Mets?
No.
Where's he headed?
I'm not 100% sure. I know the Rangers are interested, but I don't think he's going there because at the end of the day, I mean, the Rangers, they always want a pitcher, and then they ended up with John Gray. So, like, they're not going to get anything good. It doesn't really matter what pitchers they want. Hitters will love to play there because it's a great place to hit, not a great place to pitch. So I don't think DeGrom's going there. Where I kind of think he's going, and the place that I kind of really like for him, is Baltimore. They have a very young team. They don't have a very high payroll. It's not exactly the biggest market, but it's Baltimore. They got money, and I think DeGrom fits really well, especially considering that Camden has turned into a really pitcher-friendly park now that they moved left field back. So I think that's a really good spot for DeGrom. I think the Orioles, I mean, any team would love a guy of his caliber, but I think the Orioles especially could really use a frontline starter to anchor that rotation that, while it was solid last year, doesn't really have an ace.
Yeah, and so with DeGrom, we know he's 34 now, kind of been injury prone, kind of heavy these past few years. Do you still think he is like right off the bat difference maker for a team?
100%. Absolutely, no question in my mind. I mean, we saw him in his limited work with the Mets to close out last season. It wasn't as sharp as he like used to be, I guess, or like we kind of expect. But he's still striking out like 10 guys in 5 innings every single game. Like, his stuff is still there. I think it was just more of he had to get back into the pitching form without really much of any prep because he missed half the season. And he's coming off some pretty big injuries. Like, it's not really expecting him to go out and absolutely dominate like we were used to seeing at the close of last season. So I think he'll be fine. I'm not worried about him. He still throws 100 miles an hour. His slowest pitch goes 91. Like, he's still absurd.
Yeah, and besides DeGrom, where do we see your guy, Trey Turner? Where's he ending up?
Well, not in LA, I can tell you that much. He's gone. I think the safest bet and where I think he will probably end up going is Philly. He's already said that he wants to go to Philadelphia. The Phillies need a shortstop bad because they started Edmundo Sosa. It's short in Game 6 of the World Series, so they obviously, need some help there. And they have money. They've spent a lot of money, but they still got a good amount because really their big contracts aren't exactly the most expensive. Bryce Harper's honestly underpaid. I mean, that's a strange thing to say.
Yeah, that's saying a lot.
He got a $300 million deal, but I think he's only making 25 right now, and I think he's only making 25 the rest of the way now.
Yeah, only $25 million a year.
Only 25, but I mean, when you're talking about a guy that good, you expect him to be making closer to 35, 40.
Yeah.
So I think that they have plenty to spare for Trey, and Trey wants to play there. You've already heard him say he wants to play there. I kind of think that's where he's going. I'd be surprised. I mean, I sure as heck don't think he's playing in LA next season. I would put a lot of money that he's out of Dodger Blue.
And so another shortstop, Xander Bogaerts for the Red Sox. What's the deal with him? Where do we see him landing?
Bogaerts is an interesting one. I don't really see him leaving Boston because it seems like that team is just completely attached to him.
I agree.
I don't really know where he'd go, though, if he were to leave. I mean, the Braves could probably use him if they lose Dansby. The Dodgers could use him, but, like, I don't really see a world in which Boston lets Bogarts go because he's their guy. And they didn't trade him for a reason. I think they want to bring him back. That Red Sox team is still solid. I know they played not solid last season, but they
underperformed.
They're certainly still a good roster, and I don't really see them letting Bogarts walk.
Yeah, and bringing it back to my team, there really hasn't been much of an update yet with Judge, except for the fact that they're investigating. Did you see that? They're investigating talks between the Yankees and the Mets over communications about Judge. I don't really think that was a big deal. I don't really think anything's going to come of that. But, yeah, no, nothing really to speak of, and he rejected the 7-year, $213 million deal.
Rightfully so.
In the beginning of the season. So, obviously, their offer is going to have to eclipse that. And we're kind of all just sort of patiently waiting. I mean, we signed Rizzo for 2 years. That's an okay signing, I guess, for now, but we're kind of worried about that other guy too.
Yeah, there actually was some Aaron Judge, not exactly news, but he said something earlier today. It's 37 minutes ago exactly, according to Bleacher Report, and he said that he wants to be somewhere where he will win, and somewhere with a championship. He says, quote, "I want to be on a team with a winning culture and a commitment to winning." Now, I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like the New York Yankees if you ask me.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't. They have a commitment to coming in second to the Houston Astros. That's not winning. That's losing.
They're putting themselves in position.
They're putting themselves in position to
win.
Lose to Houston every year. They obviously aren't actually trying to win because if they were, they'd do something about their roster, but Brian Cashman hasn't. So that is why.
That's a whole nother story.
I don't think Aaron Judge is staying in New York. I don't think he's even going to the Mets. I think he's going to the other coast. And he's not going to the Dodgers. I know you just lifted your eyebrows. He's not going there. He's going up the coast. He's going to San Francisco.
Yeah.
He's staying in pinstripes. Uglier pinstripes, if you ask me. But Aaron Judge is one of the softest players in all of baseball, and he hates getting booed by his home fans. You know where they won't boo him? San Francisco. That's some of the nicest fans in all of baseball. I mean, honestly, they are fantastic people. They would never boo Aaron Judge. He would love to play there. I mean, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't go there. They have a winning culture. They won 108, 107. They won 100 in a lot of games in 2021. While they didn't have that same kind of success last year, the Giants know how to win. Kapler knows how to win. Farhan Zaidi knows how to win. Like, that's a winning team right there. And what hurts even more is that's such a winning team. They signed Jock Peterson. They re-signed him. He accepted the qualifying offer. So now that's another guy that they know they have that knows how to win. So I think it's a great spot for Aaron Judge. I know you sure also agree that that's a great spot for him because it's a better place than the Yankees, and as much as you will try to deny it, it's a fact.
Well, the only point I can't argue with on is the fact that they will certainly not boo him there, no matter how bad he plays, because to be fair, I still don't understand how Yankee fans, you can boo Aaron Judge.
Because you guys are stupid and idiots and don't understand that people are humans and you shouldn't boo the guy who got you to where you are.
I mean, we basically booed Joey Gallo out of town, but if we're going to boo a guy like Aaron Judge, who had our team on his back through the second half of the season when he's not playing well, I don't know. I was never one of those Yankee fans to clarify, but yeah, if he does end up in San Francisco or any other team, I almost think we're the only fan base who would probably boo him.
Absolutely. There is also one other fan base that I think might, and that is the Red Sox. I don't think they would, but those people are kind of mean sometimes. I don't think they'd boo Aaron Judge because I think they'd know better.
Yeah.
But they might boo him at first because, they kind of hate the Yankees, and Aaron Judge is a big Yankee. So I wouldn't be completely shocked if they booed him, but I don't think they actually would.
Yeah, and I don't recall if we talked about this already, I think last week, but the Mets re-signed Diaz for 5 years. I think that was a great move by them.
it's an interesting one, I think. I'm not sure I love it as a move. I think they had to bring him back. But the issue with signing relievers to big deals is they never pay off, ever. Relief pitchers are so volatile that they're gonna be due for bad because it's just kind of the way it works. They're up and down. They always are. And Edwin Diaz, I don't know exactly how old he is. I know he's getting close to 30. 28, so he'll have probably a few good years, and then those last couple might be rough.
That's still young, though.
Not for
You're
a
in your
reliever.
20s?
Not for a reliever. You don't really see a whole lot of relievers staying as elite on the other side of 30.
They signed him for 5 years. That'll put him at, what, 33?
He'll be 33, but he's 20. I think he turns 29 right before the season starts.
His birthday's in March, so yes.
Yeah, so he'll be 34 by the time his contract's up. I mean, that's not a great age for a reliever, and it's. I think it'll probably be fine because his stuff is so electric that I think it'll age at least a little, but give it 2-3 years, and I think that contract after those first couple 2 or 3 years, I think it won't look that great looking back at it.
Yeah, but yeah, he's got a good 3-4 years left. Absolutely,
He has
I
2
would
or 3
say.
good years left, I'd
Yeah,
say.
and those trumpets belong in no other stadium.
I agree. Was it William Contreras? Get those out of there. I don't want to hear you walking up to the trumpets. I don't care if you might have you didn't even have it first because Diaz has had it since he was in Seattle. So those are Diaz's trumpets. You best not be taking them.
Yeah,
They belong in Citi Field.
yeah, they do.
And that's why I don't hate the contract as a whole because really, I mean, Edwin Diaz is so electric. He is so much fun. That crowd goes nuts when the trumpets start playing, and rightfully so because there's nothing more fun to listen to.
And then the one game when they had Timmy Trumpet actually play the song while he was jogging out, that was electric. That I think we need more stuff like that. I think in baseball because when do they show they stayed on that through the whole commercial break, him jogging out and everything, and that was just fun to see. And yeah, good for the Mets for holding on to him.
Yeah, good for the Mets, but I think there's another guy that I want to look at is Carlos Rodon. He's quietly become one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, and I have absolutely no clue where he's going to go because he seems like one of those guys who's just, since he's been so quietly dominant, I wouldn't really be shocked if he goes somewhere random. He seems like the random guy who goes to Detroit this year because they always get one of those every season. I think it might be Rodon. Because it's another place. It's a place that pitchers would like to pitch at. It's a great pitcher park. It's not a good team, but I don't know if Rodon cares about being on a good team because I don't know if he cares about a lot of things because I don't know anything about him. Because I know he's great. I know he's really fun to watch, but he was in Chicago with the White Sox and he was bad and then became really good all of a sudden and then went to San Francisco. He was really good there, but he did it under the radar because the Giants were kind of trash. And so now he's a free agent, and he's going to go somewhere. He's going to get paid, but I don't know really from where. It doesn't seem like any of the big teams are super in on him. Maybe the Mets go for him. Maybe they try and get him to replace DeGrom. I don't know. Wouldn't be a bad spot for him, but he's an interesting one because he's so good, and it seems like he's just kind of getting lost in the mix of free agency.
Yeah, and one other guy I want to talk about too, World Series champion Justin Verlander. Where's he ending up?
He's staying in Houston.
You think? Yeah,
He's got to stay in Houston. I don't see a world where he leaves. It's not to this. I think it's honestly more of an extent than Bogarts. While I don't think Bogarts is leaving, I can envision a world in which he leaves. Even if I said I didn't, I still can. I don't see a single ounce of reality where Justin Verlander is not in Houston at the start of next season. I think he either retires, which I don't think he will do.
he's 39.
He's 39, but I don't remember if he just won a Cy Young. I think he just did. He's still really good at baseball.
He's a young 39.
Yeah, he's a spry 39 despite having, I think, 2 different Tommy Johns. He's a kind of insane, and Houston's got something with him. They have their magical spin things. I don't know how they make it work, but they have, and he's looked like he was 21 again. know how he's able to keep doing it, but he has, and I don't think he's going to want to leave. I think he's too smart to want to leave because no one likes him. Honestly, I think that's another thing. A lot of teams don't like Justin Verlander because he's like the hypocrite who said, I don't like cheating, but then also condoned cheating because he was on that team and didn't say anything about it. So I don't really know what's going on there, but it's a place that I think he belongs in until he retires. I think they've kind of given him that second home after Detroit. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, good for him and the Astros, I guess.
Well, one other former Astro that I do want to touch on, granted, Verlander's not going to be a former Astro, but technically he is right now. Carlos Correa. He is hitting the market, and he is the controversial man because he's really good at baseball. He didn't have the greatest of years last season, but he's still one of the top shortstops in all of baseball, and everyone hates him, and there's no other place he should be in and then Los Angeles because the Dodgers need him so bad. They have their entire team is made up of family men and dads. They need a heel. They need someone that everyone will look at and hate. And I'm not sure there's anybody available that is more hateable than Carlos Correa. They need him in Dodger blue. He knows how to hit in October, and especially they need him now that Jocktober is stuck in San Francisco. So I don't know what Andrew Friedman has to do to convince the Los Angeles of America that Carlos Correa should play for the Dodgers, because if Carlos Correa gets signed, every Dodger fan will boo him relentlessly every single time he steps up to the plate. And honestly, I think that'll be great for him because Carlos Correa hits homers every time he plays against the Dodgers. And so if we boo him every time he's playing for us, that just sounds like he's homering every single game. So honestly, I think that's the greatest. That could be potentially the greatest signing in baseball history if they bring Correa to the Dodgers. There's nothing else that needs to be said. That is everything that should happen. Andrew, please make it happen. I beg you.
So is that the missing piece that you guys need to not lose in the first round next year?
Yes. We need someone who can hit. It's as simple as that. He's great defensively, which is going to be even more important now that the shift is gone and you're going to shortstop defense. It's going to be a big thing again.
That's going to change a lot.
It is going to change a lot. Carlos Correa is so good. He's so good defensively. He can hit when it matters. And he's an absolute jerk, and I need it.
So we're penciling in 2023 Dodgers World Series champs right now?
If they sign Correa, yes.
How many cases of do we putting on it?
Well, I'm not putting a whole lot of cases to do because I don't think he's actually going to LA because I don't think Andrew Friedman has the balls to make make Los Angeles hate him. But if he does, I'll put all of the cases to do on it. Every single one.
We're gonna note that right here.
Note it right now.
You heard it right now.
Also, I would just like to preface that every single year when I make free agency predictions, I'm always dead wrong. So everything that I have said up until this point will not happen.
No, it's all facts. It's all gonna happen.
Yes.
Speaking it into existence.
Speaking it into existence. It hasn't worked yet. It's got to work now.
Yeah.
Word.
It's real.
But moving off of baseball and over to basketball, Kevin Durant had some questionable comments about his teammates recently. Shane, what are some of your opinions on this?
Well, straight up, this is pathetic, right? KD is an awful leader of this basketball team, and so when he requested a trade over the summer, I read an interview that he did. It was basically because he wasn't happy with the way practices were run under Steve Nash. He wanted to do more drills that weren't being done. He was basically unhappy and was kind of like, I just don't want to be part of this team anymore. I don't like the culture that's going on here. And during the interview, he really contradicted himself because he said, quote, like talking about this season, I'm having a really good time. I wish y'all could hear me talk during the game. If I got mic'd up more, people would stop asking me if I'm happy or not. But then in the same interview, you go and name drop your whole starting lineup and talk about, oh, we send this group out there. What do they expect? They just want me to go out there and play good and carry this team. It's like, I get it. He's the type of guy that he don't want to worry about nothing else except for he just wants to go out there and play basketball. But it's like when you're as a caliber of a player as he is, you kind of got that responsibility as a leader, especially without Kyrie this season. So I don't know. If you're the Nets, I don't know what you do with this. It kind of just sounds like he just sort of doesn't care about winning anymore.
Yeah, and it's absolutely true because, I mean, I'm happy you said that because I said it. I've said this for a while now. I said it I think it feels like every time we talk about the Nets, Kevin Durant is a terrible leader. He's never been a good leader. He never will be a good leader because, like you said, he just wants to go out there and play basketball, which, I mean, at the end of the day, good for you. I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
If that's all you really want to do in life, awesome. More power to you. Except you're really good at basketball, so that's not all you're allowed to do. You're too good of a basketball player to just sit back and just hoop. Because, I mean, if you want to, especially if you're going to go out and dog your teammates, you don't get to do that. That's not allowed. Everybody has absolutely gone after Aaron Rodgers this season for talking bad about his receivers and all of his teammates. And if we're going to do that for Rodgers, we better do it for Kevin because Kevin Durant just did it even worse. He literally said every single player that is in the starting lineup and said, how do you expect me to win with these idiots?
First and last name.
He might as well have just dropped their social security numbers.
He might as well have.
And so I don't understand how we're going to let this slide because really, I mean, Kevin Durant, it's the reason why he's not a top 10 player of all time. If you want to be one of the best players of all time, you have to make your teammates better. And, I mean, you look around the league. LeBron makes his teammates better. Steph makes his teammates better. Giannis makes his teammates better. Even John Morant makes his teammates better. Kevin Durant hasn't done any of that since the moment he stepped into the league. He's been around good players, and they're the reason they play good. He's never once elevated his teammates' games in any level, and I can't stand Kevin Durant for having the audacity, the gall, the nerve to go out and say every single one of the players in his starting lineup and say, how do you expect me to win with these guys? What? How? How is a member of any team, I don't care how good you are, you have absolutely no right to go out and absolutely trash your teammates like he did to the media. If you're going to do that, do it in the locker room. Yep. Don't say it over the air.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. Like, if you're going to have a conversation with your teammates about okay, guys, we need to play better, you have that behind closed doors. You don't come out and say that to the media. And this is the thing with this interview. He's so on both sides because there was comments where he was like, yeah, I'm having a good time out there. Like, I'm really happy. It's just like a frustrating time right now. So on one hand, he kind of just sounds like, I don't know, I'm good. We're just not playing well right now. But then it's like he re-brings up when he requested a trade, and then he name-dropped his teammates. So it's like that just doesn't make a good winning culture in the locker room. Because, like, if you're his teammates, you're looking at him like, what did you just say?
Yeah. No one wants to go out to war with this guy anymore. I mean, this guy just trashed all of them. Why would anybody on that team? Why is Joe Harris going to go out there and say, oh, Kevin, you're going to kick it out to me? I'll just pass it away to someone else. I don't care. Why would I give the ball to you ever? I mean, all these guys must hate playing with him now. No one wants to work with this guy anymore. No one wants to play with someone who just went out and said you suck. Why would anybody want to do that?
Yeah, and I don't think Kyrie is much better of a leader either.
Kyrie's not a leader either. Kyrie just does his own thing.
They're kind of similar, but like at least Kyrie, I don't think Kyrie would make these comments.
No, because Kyrie would never say anything. Kyrie would just say the earth is flat.
Yeah, he's got stuff to say, but not to the extent and the insensitivity that Kevin Durant does. And Kyrie, I think, will be back on Sunday.
Yep.
So that's a good thing for this team.
Maybe. Is it? I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing for this team. They need stability right now. I don't know if Kyrie's stability. Kyrie seems like the opposite of stability right now.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll play. Sure. Now Kevin Durant won't. Maybe now he'll only name 3 of the 5 starters. What's that going to do for you?
Yeah, because he wouldn't have thrown Kyrie's name in there.
Never would have thrown Kyrie's name in there.
I don't think. I mean,
even if they were still losing, he never would have said Kyrie. He would have named the other 3. And that might have been even worse, honestly.
Yeah, no, because they are not playing well. They just got blown out by the Kings, who the Kings actually haven't looked so bad this season so far.
No, they've looked solid lately. De'Aaron's nice. And, I mean, the rest of that team's nice. It's a solid team. But the Nets have Kevin Durant, who is objectively better than any single player you want to put on the Kings. He might be better than that entire starting 5 combined.
And by the way, Kevin Durant's playing phenomenal this year, too.
He has, and honestly, that's why I think that the messages kind of felt so mixed, is because when he's talking about, oh, yeah, I've been having a good time on the floor. Yeah, you're having a good time because you're playing good.
Yeah.
No wonder you're having a good time. If you're dropping 39 and 9 every single game, yeah, I'd hope you're happy. But at the same time, if you're losing, I'd hope you're upset. So, like, okay, sure, you're looking back and saying, oh, I'm playing well, but none of my teammates are. Wow, they sure suck. That's not doing anything. Kevin Durant lights a fire in me. I can't stand him.
Yeah, no, they got to have like a meeting, a sit-down meeting, and like really figure this out, because like if he keeps making comments like these and the culture there kind of stays the way it is, they're going to have to look into moving him. And like I said, he requested a trade over the summer. Did that just kind of like fade away? That just kind of got swept under the radar? I don't know how, because it's like you request a trade, you're telling us I don't want to be with this team. And then it just kind of, okay, slowly but surely kind of got forgot about, and now he's playing with the Nets again. So, I don't know. I think that needs to be re-talked about between him and the organization so they can really kind of get all on the same page and on track with each other, because on paper, this team's got it. The talent, they have what it takes. It's just their chemistry and like trust in each other is just not there. And the Ben Simmons situation hasn't gone to plan either.
I mean, honestly, I think at this point, the Nets have to blow it up. This team is never going to work together. They're better off just trading Kevin Durant, Kyrie. If you can somehow trade Ben Simmons, which I don't think you possibly can, do it. But trade those guys, get picks, get something so you can rebuild this team moving forward, because honestly, it's not going to work right now. Kevin Durant and Kyrie aren't going to win you basketball games. They haven't done it so far with them. They're not going to do it now. Kevin Durant has just dogged the entire team. Why do you think that now somehow, some way they're going to be able to turn this around? Trade him, trade Kyrie, restart. Build a culture from the ground up.
Yeah, speaking of Ben Simmons, I saw a stat the other day.
Oh, boy.
Ben Simmons has 47 points on the season, and Embiid dropped 60 in one game the other night. I thought that sums up them very well, I'd say.
Yeah, that's a stat right there.
I thought that was funny,
But let's move on to our final basketball topic, and that is the Boston Celtics have been playing at a very high level. They've won 8 in a row, including 1 against the refs. Do we think that they can represent the East in the NBA Finals?
Yeah, 1 against the refs. That was the most bogus technical foul I think anyone has ever received, except for maybe Tim Duncan getting one for laughing on the bench years ago. But yeah, no, this team has really come into their own. And Jason Tatum is a legit superstar in this league, and he's putting himself right in the MVP conversation this year. And even with all the controversy and the distractions with the Ime Udoka situation, this team has just found a way to just keep it together and just getting it done. And Tatum's, he's averaging 31 a game, which is a career high. His field goal percentage is 49%, which is also a career high. And then I saw earlier, there's rumors of them potentially getting Jacob Poeltl from the Spurs.
Poeltl.
Tomato.
Poeltl. Show the man some respect.
Yeah, he might be a Celtic soon. We might have to. But
he better not take Al Horford's job.
Oh, he just might. But yeah, I think if they can kind of make a move like that or something similar to it before the deadline, that's a big deal for them. Because, and the other thing, this is all without Robert Williams too. He was really playing great towards the end of last year and in the finals. So no, between this team and the Bucks, it's gonna be fun watching who can take that 1 and 2 spot throughout the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, as good as the Celtics are, I still don't think they're the best team in the East. I think Milwaukee's still better. They're 11-3, and they've been playing without Chris Middleton all season.
Yep.
They just won 2 or 3 without Giannis. This team is so deep. They've figured out a way to win games even without their best players. It's kind of impressive. It's kind of incredible, honestly, just watching this team. And when Giannis is on the floor, I mean, he's the best player in all of basketball. I think that's a pretty fair and safe statement there. But I mean, they're half a game back of Boston, sure, but without Middleton, that's pretty impressive. Because I mean, that's their number 2 right there. That's their guy if that's their shooter. If they need a 3, they go to Chris Middleton. Right now, they haven't had that, and they're still winning games. And so I don't really see how you can put Boston over them. I understand it. Because, I mean, technically, they are over them. They've got a better record. And, yeah, they've been playing without Robert Williams. But, I mean, I'd say Middleton's probably a bigger piece than Robert Williams is. Is that a fair statement?
That's a fair statement.
So I think it's reasonable to understand why Milwaukee is still below the Celtics. But the fact that they're this close, this already, I mean, it's says a lot about Milwaukee and the team that they've been able to build there.
Yeah, and the Celtics, and not to mention, I didn't even mention Jaylen Brown.
He's still very good.
And I remember there was rumors last year towards the end of the season, like, oh, will they potentially have to blow it up, like split apart Tatum and Jaylen Brown? I'm glad they didn't, because clearly this team can win. I think that was just their first time in the finals last year. They're both very young. Tatum's, I think, 24, and Jaylen Brown's around that age too. I think I can definitely see that team winning a ring in the near future, I would say.
What, the Celtics?
Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. They're obviously one of the best teams around right now, and they're so deep. They're so young. Jason Tatum is so good. But I still don't think they're better than Milwaukee.
They're going to run into each other in the playoffs.
Oh, they certainly are. And
that's going to be a great series.
It'll be an incredible series. But on the other side, we will have a whole lot of football because we will be stepping away for a brief pause. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning in so far here tonight. We will be back in the second half of Victory Lap very soon. Thank you all for joining us here tonight. We are ready for the second half of the Victory Lap. We got a whole lot of football on the docket for us here. But starting off, we had a massive game between the Vikings and the Bills last weekend. And Shane, do you think this was a bigger win for the Vikings or a bigger loss for the Bills?
Well, first of all, I think we can agree that this was the game of the year, which included the catch of the year by Justin Jefferson.
It might have been the catch of like the ever.
Of all time, yeah. That was absolutely incredible what he did. But I think this is a bigger loss for the Bills because this now marks they've dropped 2 in a row now. And these past few games, Josh Allen has not looked like the Josh Allen we saw at the beginning of the season because we used to talk about him on here and talk about, oh, Josh Allen might be the best quarterback in the league, and this guy just looks invincible. And we just haven't seen that lately. And I think why them dropping 2 straight is such a big deal because their division just keeps getting tougher and tougher. The Dolphins went above them. The Jets are above them now. They still have the same record, but the Jets have obviously been playing well. And Josh Allen now leads the league in interceptions with 10. So I think there's more concern with the Bills and Josh Allen here. I mean, great win for the Vikings. The Vikings and iced out Kirk they're playing phenomenal this year, but yeah, I think this is a bigger deal that the Bills have lost this one and also 2 in a row.
Now, I love that you say this because a lot of the times when we have discourse on this show, I kind of have to make it sometimes, but this is one of those times where I actively disagree with everything you just said.
Okay.
I think that, this is a bad loss for the Bills, sure.
Absolutely.
But this is a massive win for the Vikings. It is a huge win for the Vikings, so much bigger than this is a loss for the Bills, because the Vikings were a team that we weren't exactly sure how good they actually were. And while maybe they shouldn't have won this game, they
shouldn't have won this game.
They ended up winning it. And
they barely won, and Josh Allen played like garbage.
What does it matter? They still won. End of the day, they still won. Josh Allen might have played like garbage, so did Kirk. Captain Kirk didn't play good either. He threw 2 picks. It wasn't
so
like
did Josh.
But Kirk wasn't good. Kirk still won. Josh didn't. All I know is the Vikings went out there. They were chasing 17, and they battled back. They scraped back. Kirk played a great second half. Dalvin Cook broke an 80-yard touchdown. I don't want to hear Zeke talk about how he's a bad running back.
Dalvin Cook cooked.
Dalvin Cook did cook.
And for my fantasy team.
And for your fantasy team. And for my fantasy team, too, that lost. But I think that this was a huge win for the Vikings, a massive win for the Vikings. There is absolutely no world in which this wasn't a bigger win for them than it was for the Bills. Because one thing that I want to know, the Vikings have won 7 games in a row now. They're 8-1 on the season. All 7 of their last win, all 7 of the wins on this win streak have been decided by 1 score. A lot of people look at that and say the Vikings aren't great because they're not blowing teams out. I don't care. Good teams win close games, and just because the Vikings are only winning close games, it shows just how good they are, because bad teams lose these games. The Vikings have week in, week out, even when they don't have their best, even when they aren't playing elite, still win. They find ways to win, and that's a sign of a great football team, and the Vikings are 8-1 for a reason. I'm not sure how long it'll last because I'm still not a super big believer in Kirk Cousins as a primetime quarterback,
I agree.
But he just went out and he played a great second half of football, and probably the biggest game he's ever played. I mean, obviously he's played in playoff games that have meant more, but Kirk had to go out and play a perfect second half if they wanted to win that game, and he went out and did.
Yeah, but I mentioned it earlier. Yes, the Bills losing this game is I think it's a bigger deal, but I think what's a bigger deal is they might lose their top there. I mean, they already did. Their division just looks better and better each week. So it seems like they're having less and less room for error almost each week because it's like the Dolphins just keep on winning. The Jets are just keeping on winning. But I think, and Josh Allen's injury too, he is in line to play on Sunday in Detroit now in the Dome instead of the 6 feet of snow out in Buffalo. But it kind of feels like this Bills-Browns game is a must-win for the Bills to kind of get back on track.
Absolutely, and it's a game they will win. It's not, I mean, just because it's a must-win game, sure, but they'll win. I don't think anyone's worried about that. The Bills are by far a better team than the Browns. The Browns aren't that good until they get the questionable man they have at quarterback that's set to come back soon named Deshaun Watson. Once he starts playing for him, maybe they'll turn into something good, but I love Jacoby Brissett. He's not that great.
Yeah.
As long as he's there, the offense isn't really going to turn into a whole lot of anything because the receivers, I like Amari Cooper, but after that, it's not that great. He doesn't have a whole lot to work with.
Yep.
He's got a great running game, but the defense kind of looks bad. The Browns aren't that good. The Bills should stomp them, and I'm not really worried about the Bills stomping them.
They better.
I'm not, and at
They
the same
can't drop
time,
3 in a row.
They can't drop 3 in a row, but I think the Bills are probably okay. They're the best. They're one of the best rosters in all of football. They have one of the best quarterbacks in all of football. They have one of the best receivers in all of football. I'm not really that worried about them picking it up. Certainly not where they want to be right now. They're third in the division. That's not good. But, I mean, they're tied with the Jets, I think. No, are they tied with the Jets record-wise?
Them and the Jets are 6-3.
Yeah, so they're tied with the Jets, and they're
Jets
half
are
a
ahead
game
because they beat them.
Yeah, and they're half a game back of the Dolphins.
Yep.
So, I mean, yeah, they don't want to be in third, but I'm not worried about them actually staying there. They're going to be just fine. The Bills are too good. I don't trust the Dolphins. I mean, I actually do trust the Dolphins. I don't trust the Jets to stay ahead of them at all. And with the way playoffs are structured, where you get an extra team making it every year, even if they don't win the division, they'll still make the playoffs and they'll still make a deep run because they're just going to be flat out better than the teams they're playing.
Yeah, and another thing, this is not to discredit the Vikings at all. I mean, they're having a phenomenal season, and the game that Justin Jefferson had on Sunday made his case for the best receiver in the league.
Still number 2, but it is a great case for him now.
Not only the impossible catch that he made, but time and time again during that game when they needed it seemed like when they needed it the most, Kirk was just throwing him the ball and he was just finding a way to go get it and come down with it. So no, the Vikings are having a great year, and their only loss came to the Eagles. I think, yeah, the Eagles beat them. The Eagles beat them early in the season, but I don't know. I don't think the Vikings are better than the Eagles. I think the Eagles are still the best team in the NFC. So I think the Bills losing I think it's time to worry in Buffalo, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, they can worry, but I don't think they should worry that much. Another team that has some questions about worrying is the Philadelphia Eagles, who just lost their first game of the season to the Washington Commanders on Monday. Do we think this is a reason to worry for them?
Well, the Commanders beat them 32-21.
There's an asterisk there.
What's
they
the asterisk?
really beat them 26-21. They scored a touchdown on the last play of the game in desperation.
The scoreboard says 32-21.
Yeah, but it was a 26-21 loss in reality.
Okay, but still, the final score was 32-21. But I mean, the Eagles were going to lose a game eventually. I didn't think it was going to come to the Commanders, but the Commanders they're kind of a scrappy team. They played them well, and they obviously played good enough to win. And I think the Eagles just had a bad game. They fumbled the ball 3 times. I still think Jalen Hurts is one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So, no, I just think this just was a bad game by the Eagles. I don't really think it's a reason to worry. But, I mean, you'd look at the schedule and you would think, oh, Eagles Commanders, you're taking the Eagles all day. But what do they say? Any given Sunday, or was this Monday?
This is at any given Monday.
Any given Monday Night
Yes.
Football on ESPN. But yeah, no, I think the Eagles are going to be just fine.
Yeah, I think the only thing the Eagles have to worry about is A.J. Brown's health, because when he left the field, that offense looked bad. And they don't really want to, look bad. So I think that's kind of a worry for them, but this team's fine. If they really need to, they can take another week and just bench him. Or just give him a week off, let him rest, let him heal, get more recovered, and then you bounce back and you have a healthy A.J. Brown the rest of the way. Maybe they want to do that. Maybe they just say, oh, A.J. Brown's just tweaked it in that game. He's going to be fine moving forward. I don't really know how they play it. I don't think it really matters in the long run, because as long as he's on the field, this offense is dynamic.
Yep.
They only looked bad when he was off the field. And plus, they were missing him and Devontae Smith that game. So, obviously the passing game wasn't going to be that great. So I'm not really that worried about the Eagles. When they're healthy, this team's incredible. Even when they're not fully healthy, this team's still incredible. I think they're perfectly fine. Their defense, their pass rush is absurd. They're okay. I'm not worried about them. They just ran into Taylor Heineke. The guy's a gamer.
He is.
You said it perfectly. That's a scrappy team, and he's the scrappiest quarterback in all of football. He's going to find way to win. He finds way to win games that he shouldn't. He put himself into games that he never has the right of being. You remember that playoff game against Brady and the Bucs?
I was just going to bring that up.
I mean, that was the only close game the Buccaneers played in all that entire playoff run. And it was against Taylor Heineke. He's a really good quarterback that doesn't really get a whole lot of credit or recognition. The Eagles just kind of ran into him at the wrong time. You said it. They were due for a bad game, and it just happened to come against the Commanders. I don't think they should be worried at all about this season.
Yeah, no, I mean, in the Commanders, they sit at 5-5, which, in a lot of other divisions, they wouldn't be in last. It's just...
No. They're in the best division. Well, one of the best divisions in all football.
It's not the NFC least anymore. We'll say that.
It's the NFC most.
The NFC most, in fact. But, yeah, no, the Commanders, they could surprise some teams this year by getting wins like that. And you know who the Eagles play next? They play the Colts, which team just got a new coach.
They did.
Yeah.
The best winning percentage in all of football history, and he made Derek Carr emotional.
Yes, he did. Stop the count right now. He's the best coach of all time. He's 1-0.
Greatest. No one's ever been better.
He's never lost a game.
He's never lost a game in his entire life.
Yeah, this signing was just... I mean, let's be fair. His first game he got to coach was against the Raiders, right?
Yeah.
I mean, but still, you're an ESPN analyst a week ago.
Yeah.
And now you're on the sideline of an NFL game.
Yeah.
As the head coach. And they stepped in there and they won the game. He started Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan he was solid. He did fine.
I mean, Jeff Saturday made the smartest decision of the Colts this season, which was going back to Matt Ryan, because Sam Ehlinger is obviously not the right play. The only
I don't know
play
why that happened in the first
no one
place.
does. You have Nick Foles on the roster. If you're going to start a backup, play the one that's, won a Super Bowl.
Yes. Yep.
But I love Jeff Saturday purely for the vibes. He has arguably the best vibes of any head coach in football. He literally looks like a drunk guy you found in the bar and just said, here, we'll pay you a lot of money to call plays and get mad at refs. That's what I see when I see Jeff Saturday, and he's 1-0. He's the greatest head coach in football history.
His persona just kind of does scream out. He just looks like a football guy. I mean, and of course, granted, he played 13 years with the Colts, so
he did.
The guy knows a thing or two about football.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing to look at, will this sort of become a trend now of just kind of, hiring guys kind of just out of ESPN?
No shot. There is absolutely no chance.
Or were the Colts just desperate?
I think the Colts were just desperate, and Jim Irsay just wanted to do something weird. I don't think there was really any logic behind this move. It's 1-0, and
1-0.
Greatest coach ever. I would be very surprised if we see another Jeff Saturday in the league as a head coach just like that. This is not normal. I don't think it will become normal. It's wrong.
My favorite thing about the game was I read something about how he didn't know how to use the headset or the tablet to look at the replays and stuff. I thought that was hilarious. And speaking of Jonathan Taylor had a monster game finally, about time. I mean, he rushed for 147 and a touchdown. So it kind of comes down to, like, okay, at the end of the day, he was the head coach and he won the game. But it's like, how much for that win do you actually credit him when you got a good game out of Matt Ryan, you got a good game out of Jonathan Taylor, and you faced the Raiders and Derek Carr, who he made emotional and very upset.
Yes. Another team that's been making teams emotional all season is the New York football team Giants. There is one more in there, but I'm not adding it. Do we think this team is a fraud?
No.
Good.
Not at all.
They're not frauds. Anyone who says they are is wrong.
I will say, and this is kind of tough to ignore, they've had kind of an easy schedule.
They have, but they've won.
They've won. At the end of the day, you play who's on the other side of you, and that's just it. Like, am I overly impressed with a win against the Texans? No, not at all. And we only won 24-16, but in that game, Daniel Jones had the highest QBR, which was 153, of any quarterback in the league this season. So he threw 13 for 17. He's just getting it done. He makes plays when they need it. He's taking very good care of the football. And by the way, he threw 13 of 17. Two of those incompletions were drops by Kenny Golladay, which one hit him right in the numbers. So yeah, it goes on the stat sheet as an incompletion, but we're not counting that. The Giants were 7-2. I don't know off the top of my head who we play this weekend, but we've had an easy schedule, but we're just winning games, and we're not winning in the flashiest of ways. So I think that's why maybe we're getting overlooked, but no, we're just playing good fundamental football.
Giants have another game they should win this weekend. They're playing the Lions. They're playing the Lions, and it's going to be in New York. So they should take that. I do think, like you said, end of the day, if you win games, you're not a bad team. They're 7-2. That's a good football team. If they were really frauds, they would have lost a lot more games along the way. Because if they really were as good as the not good teams that they've been playing, they wouldn't be 7-2. And so they are. So obviously that means they're good. I think something to note for why they're not blowing teams out, they don't play football to blow teams out.
Yep.
They're a run-heavy team. They're a run and defense team. Their defense has been very good this year. Their running game has been very good this year. If they really wanted to blow teams out, they'd ask Daniel Jones to throw it more than 24 times a game.
That's not his game.
It's not. And there's no reason to make that his game when it's winning you football games if you're just relying on Saquon and the defense, because they're 7-2. I can't look at this team and criticize them for winning close games and then compliment the Vikings for it. If the Vikings can win are allowed to win close games, so are the Giants. Why should nobody should be talking bad about the Giants for being 7-2 and barely beating all these not good teams when the Vikings are 8-2? It's not like they haven't blown anyone out all year. They haven't won a game by more than 10 points since week 1. Like, I don't know how you can look at the Giants and not think they're a great football team. They're 7-2. They have one of the best defenses in the league. They have one of the cases for Offensive Player of the Year.
And Coach of the Year.
Dable's been incredible. We haven't even talked about Dable. He's been fantastic.
Just from week 1, just changed the atmosphere, the vibe, the culture in that organization and on the sidelines. And I'm not sure if you saw this, but did you see the video of him very heated and upset, yelling at the offensive line on Sunday?
Yep.
You can say that and say, no, that's what you need.
Yep.
You're holding guys accountable. And it was because they jumped off sides and cost him 5 yards, which I believe had to force him to punt. So, yeah, he's holding guys accountable and getting after them. So
that's what you need.
That's what we like to see.
Yep. Yeah, I love Dable as a coach. He's been fantastic. But we've talked a lot about some good things tonight. Now we close out the night with some bad. And let's look at our weekly award, the Russell Wilson Least Valuable Player Award. Shane, who do you choose to represent this prestigious honor?
Well, mine is a guy who usually we give it to players who lose. This guy was on a winning team this past weekend, and it's a guy who robbed a team of $72 million. this would be one Kenny Galladay. Do you know Isaiah Hodgins? He's been on the Giants for a week and has 41 yards. A week. One week. Kenny Galladay has 22 yards on the season. And, you know, he came back from injury this past Sunday, and it was like, oh, okay, you know, maybe he's going to come in and make it. Nope. How he's been such a bust. Forget this game. All season long, he's just been literally a no-show because, yeah, 22 yards on the season still. And the two drops, one of them he kind of had to reach for, was, could have been a better pass. But the one hit him in the numbers right off his chest. And it's like he's just been a total bust for us. And I saw he is in line to play this weekend against his former team, the Lions. So, who knows? Maybe he'll go off for 2 touchdowns and 200 yards this weekend against his former team. But this LVP for this week is one Kenny Galladay for me.
Now, you kept it interesting taking a player on a winning team. I'm going to keep this interesting. They lost, but I'm not talking about a player. I'm not even talking about someone who steps on the field. My LVP this week is Mark Davis, the owner of the Raiders. Last weekend, Josh McDaniels lost to a man who was 3-7 as a high school football coach. He had never coached at a level higher than that. This team is now 2-7 on the season. And despite all of that going on, Mark Davis says, I have all the faith in the world in Josh McDaniels, and I support him fully. I don't know how you can look at this human who has turned what should be a very talented offense into one of the worst things that I have ever seen. This is a tire fire to the highest scale. They have lost more games in the second half than I think I can count. It's amazing. And somehow, some way, Josh McDaniels is still employed, and not just employed, but has the back from the owner. And so I don't know if that has to be LVP worthy. And if that's not enough for the world, then his haircut will handle the rest.
He doesn't have the best hair, does he?
It's the worst I have ever seen in my entire life. It's amazing that this has lasted for as long as it has. It has never changed. It's awful. If anyone doesn't know what it looks like, do yourself a favor and just look up Mark
Google
Davis.
Search.
It is something else, honestly.
Yeah, 2 unorthodox LVPs this week, but I think both are deserving.
Oh, absolutely. They're both very deserving. I mean, the owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, you can't move that team. I mean, I feel like you should be getting LVP for just taking him out of Oakland in the first place. I don't care how much of a dump Oakland is. The Raider fans are built for Oakland.
Oh, that's right.
And now they're not there. Now they're in Vegas just betting all their money away.
Yep.
I did want to take someone on the Chargers. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't relive the trauma from last weekend.
Oh.
But that's going to do it for us here tonight. I would like to thank everybody for listening to us on the Victory Lap. It's always been a pleasure. It always will be. We will be stepping away for an extra week. We will not be running our show next week, as it will be Thanksgiving, and we will be enjoying time with... I won't be enjoying time with my family, but I will be enjoying it with Shane's family, so I would hope everybody has a wonderful Thanksgiving week. Hope you all had a fantastic night tonight. Hope you all have a great rest of your week. I would like to thank everybody for listening to us here. And yeah, so long. We will be back in a couple of weeks.